Hey, testing the microphone. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I heard you sneeze, so I can hear you too, Keith. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. My name's Sean. I'm Fire of Life 2018, and today is Wednesday Whatsoevers, which is kind of turned into my weekly political podcast because my whole reason for streaming was that I wanted to change the world and get famous and then be able to change the way we vote. So I thought, I should just really have the political stream and get this situation and be like, hey, let's change the way we vote. That's all we have to do is go to the polls in November, write in, change the vote. Just exactly those words, nothing else. Change the vote on all the options. That way you have to get 10% of your precinct to even get reported up to the next precinct, and then you have to get 10% of their county to get presented up to the state, and then the state has to get 10% and so on and so forth. So at least we have to get 10% of the people to write that in every county to at least get noticed. And that's all we really want is our end goal is to be noticed. So that's what we're doing here is we're talking about that on Wednesdays. And we're here with Keith, also known as Bat Coaster.
Hello.
So what we do on Wednesdays is we generally sit around chit chat and I talk about single transferable voting, which I believe is the way that we should do that. And then we talk about some news and then we just chit chat basically. Keith's been here before. You can check him out. I don't know. Do you want to plug yourself? I mean, not giggity, but
Good segue.
Right.
I'm not currently promoting myself in any way, though I was going to start, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Isn't that always the
really
truth?
Busy. Been so busy lately.
That's probably.
I'm doing anymore.
That's probably really good though, Keith. Talking to somebody who's been incredibly not busy. I really thought I would enjoy this retirement life, but
There's been entirely too much sadness lately too.
What?
Too much bad things going on.
Too much sashaying going on.
Craziness.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about. You talk about some of the politic world craziness.
No, I'm just talking about in general. I live near a university, and we had a suicide the other day, and there was a shooting on a campus of another local university, and we had 2 officers die.
Oh, I saw that. That was Bridgeport, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a messed up. That was a
the
messed up
was
mess.
here, and a lot of people were actually at my work today afterwards. One of the officers.
I mean, the whole world's gone nuts. That's what we're definitely going to talk about a lot of the things that's going on in the world right now. But I keep saying that the reason I want to do this is because no matter what we talk about, the only way we're ever going to change that, like you, me, and Joe Schmo on the street are going to change that, is to cast our votes. Our threat, we have some incredible threats to democracy as a way of life, and I hope it's going to make some people realize that it's not a right. It's definitely something that people have fought and died for, and may have to again. So keep that in mind as we're going to the polls in November. Our midterm elections are coming up in November, right? Like this one. So don't forget to go vote because those really, really matter. Probably more to your more important words. But what I want you to do is go in and write in on everyone, change the vote. Just to get us recognized, just to get us a situation to where we can tell people that this is what we want. And single transferable voting works in a way that you get to rank your choices and then they get dropped out, mathematically dropped out until there is only one, and that's who wins. But so if your candidate drops out, like the one you voted number 1 drops out, your number 2 would still move forward to count towards the number 1's threshold for to your number 2's threshold. So say for example there was this country that gave you a red and a blue choice, and then had a lesser known green and white options, but nobody ever voted for those because we were stuck with 2 most powerful evils in the world running for red and white, and one was so evil compared to the other one who was so evil compared to the other side that no one could stand to let the other one win, so they all had to vote for the lesser of 2 evils, and we've been doing that since Bush Kerry, in my opinion. But side note, if that was theoretically what was happening, you could have ranked like 1, 2, and 3, and if everybody had liked the Green Party as number 2, then when number 1 got dropped, well, I guess when number 2 got dropped out in the first round, that would have blopped up to number 3, and then they would have number 2 would have got it from everybody.
Indeed.
So it would really just prevent this whole two-party system situation that we have. It is no longer, that's the real problem with the whole system, is we need to change the two-party system. That being said, now let's talk about some real politics and news in the world today, because the world is really going to shit. Like I don't know if you saw what the title of the stream was, but I said the world is on fire for a reason. And let me tell you, like this morning, I woke up to an article that said the new Axis. And that was from the New York Times. Like, not just like some random whatever. This was like I got an article. It was like the new Axis from the New York Times, and I'm like, dude, what is this about? And you're reading it, and it's Russia and China are literally forming an alliance. Have released a formal, like, China doesn't like alliances, so they're calling it something else. What the F are they calling it? I had the article a minute ago.
We don't have to be associated with alliances.
They don't say alliances, but in this 6,000-page dossier, they denounced the United States 6 times, basically. Like, if we were playing Civilization right now, they just, like, seriously called us up and was like, you are a dickbag, and then hung up.
We still want your tourism, though.
Say again?
I said we still want your tourism.
Not with COVID right now. I don't know if we really want that. Like, are we really trying to like keep? I'm sure the tourism industry has fallen all to pieces. I'm sure it's fallen all to pieces, but I'm just not sure that tourism is what's going on right now. That gets me to the whole point with the Olympics situation. I really wasn't even thinking about it today until I was listening to Wait, Don't Tell Me, and they were making fun of it as a joke, and he was all like, yeah, the first Olympic event is avoiding COVID. And I'm like, damn. And then the other guy's like, yeah, and the second one is mingle with all your other variants. And you're like, oh yeah, you're right. Because I know there is currently another variant. Say again?
Sorry, I just stuffed my mouth full of food.
Oh. Well, I know that there's currently a variant split off of Omicron already. Like, there's a variant of Omicron already out there in the universe. And I know that the Johnson & Johnson factory shut down for unrelated reasons yesterday to work on a vaccine for an unrelated sickness that was undisclosed. But that was a factory that was currently making a COVID vaccination that we're already short supply on, because they promised all the J&J vaccinations to the third world countries. So their production quota is already falling behind what we expected to export to other third world countries. And if y'all think we can get COVID under control until we get the whole world vaccinated, you're wrong. If it starts killing people somewhere, that means that means that the viral strain that kills people is spreading somewhere.
We're hearing some positive news about COVID earlier.
Oh, what was that?
The numbers are starting to get a little more under control.
I mean, that's kind of what we expected with Omicron, because everybody says it's going through. But you also have to wonder how much that is. We had, like, they had that promotion where they mailed out 4 tests to everybody.
Like home tests?
Yeah, remember that? I don't know if you ever got them.
Yeah.
Or how long did you ever?
I never got mine.
Oh, you did, but you filled it out and tried to get one, and you haven't gotten it yet.
I did fill it out and try to get one. Did not get it. I did also order one on Amazon because I just happened to have done it like the day before or so. I've gotten that one already.
Of course you did, the one you paid for. I'm sure you did. I'd be very curious to know when you got the one from the government.
Well, if it works for anything like tax returns, we may be here a few while.
I know, right? That's the same thing I feel about IO taxes. And I'm like, it takes them forever to even process when they owe people money themselves. Surely it's going to take them forever to track me down and garnish my wages. Surely. Especially at this point, I don't have any wages, so I'm sure they're like, what do we do now? My hope and belief is to completely go off grid. Because I mean, this whole Russia-China ally situation is very scary. Like, I feel like when you go through and like, I didn't read the whole thing. Granted, I skimmed it, and I looked at the part where they talked about us and they talk about changing the balance of world power and like further the democracy. Like that they were specifically targeting democracy in a lot of this jargon. And I am starting to think this whole Trump thing was a Russian plot to begin with. Like, just to weaken America in the first place. Because now it's calling into question, like, I feel like that's what people didn't get about the Trump situation was, like, the cornerstone of democracy is the peaceful transition of power, right? Like, am I wrong? That's really what makes the true democracy work, is that people are able to just give over power every turn without having to be a fight or a bloodshed or whatever. Otherwise, you got like a death or feudalism or whatever involved in some kind of monarchy shift. So, if that's the case, I've completely forgotten where I was going with this train of thought. Hashtag marijuana. What were we talking about?
Peaceful transfer of power.
Oh, Donald Trump, cornerstone of democracy. Right. Donald Trump messed up the cornerstone of democracy because the peaceful transition of power didn't happen. So that proves that our democracy is at fault because that was allowed to happen. Because, I mean, like, had that been the Million Man March saying they were going to march peacefully outside of the Capitol building, there would have been 3 times the police force there waiting for something to happen. They had 6 dudes guarding the Capitol building on Inauguration Day. You're not going to tell me that wasn't planned?
All that stuff they're finding out now with the January 6th committee about how he was planning on trying to get, like, he was trying to use the military to go and occupy voting machines in key states.
I did see that. And that is that part of the documents that were just turned over that he accidentally took?
Or, well, we're also finding, like, documents that they had to, like, put back together because they were torn apart, you know, the official, like, presidential records.
I saw one article I was reading as we loaded in that he was being forced to return documents that he took. And you're like, dude, you know he's been hiding it. If he snuck it out of the office, he probably like shoved it up underneath his toupee.
The talk show hosts were making jokes about how aides in the White House were talking about Trump's filing system, or like him ripping up papers and just tossing them on the floor. And there's rumor that he ate a document once for some stupid reason.
I mean, Donald Trump has been dancing around loopholes in the law for his whole life. I'm sure it's like ingrained in his beliefs. Oh.
That was the big one. He was trying to use the military to seize voting machines in key spots, but even with the Homeland Security to see how legal it was or not. Like, you already asked the legalness of the action you want to do, you know that it's probably not legal. And you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Right. I mean, like, but he doesn't care. That's how he's been dancing around the law his whole life. And I mean, like, if he's allowed to run for office again in 2024 on the Republican ticket, it will literally break the country. Because
I wonder,
win or lose.
I wonder how many Republicans still really support him versus like that didn't work, and that was a mistake.
I saw Mitch McConnell is doing the flip, but that makes me wonder if they're not trying to bid for Mitch McConnell to run for president in November.
That'd be terrible.
That would be terrible, but better than Donald Trump.
You know what? I don't even know if I would believe that.
Terrible. I wouldn't vote for. Because we're gonna vote for change. So change the vote is what we're actually writing in. Because that's how I think we can change the world, is to write in change the vote. But I do think the Republican committee could survive 2024 if they put up Mitch McConnell. but I don't think they would win either.
Collectively.
But then I really would have to see who the lesser of two evils is going to put up in 2024. Like, I'm not realistic. Oh, I mean, like, you know what? I'll change that belief if this gets spread enough that it blows up or goes viral, or I do something at some point between now and November that this goes viral and people actually, like, millions of people start to watch this. But as of right now, I don't think it's really going to do anything. But maybe, so, like, maybe in the future. Maybe eventually. They said it takes years to get this started. We'll see. But in like 2024 election, in the reality is that we're gonna have to pick a Republican or Democrat because that's just the system is broken. But it's the one that's chugging down the highway at 90 miles an hour with no driver. But it's going. We're all in it. Have you heard me do the metaphor for climate change with the van?
No.
Okay, so my metaphor for climate change with the van is like I need you to like picture in your head, like close your eyes and like picture in your head this like
Okay.
80s Astro minivan. Like remember the ones
Right.
that had that like the 8-seaters, like the really big ones.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so they're filled with like iconic leaders of the world. Like you're basically looking at like the president of China's in there, Russia's like Vladimir Putin's in there, Donald Trump's in there, Joe Biden's in there, Kamala Harris is in there. Like these are prominent leaders in the country. I don't know why Donald Trump's a prominent leader in the country, but apparently he's influential enough to have an opinion. So, and he surely can represent the crazy American sect of the country. So we'll leave him in the van. So in these people are all in the van arguing about petty things. It's inconsequential to anything that's going on in anything around the world. Like as this van is like whizzing down the highway, you see out the window there's like bombs going off, explosions, volcanoes, thunderstorms, lightnings, and these people are obviously like in here arguing about like whether they can get their budget increased for the decoration of the White House.
Right.
Like that, they're super inconsequential things. You're looking in like the front mirror and like out of the front mirror, the front window, and you see a cliff, a very obvious cliff, like it's like crumbling into nothing. It's an abyss. You can see it in the distance. The van is going at an incredible distance, incredible speeds, like it's super fast going towards this cliff. Everybody starts to realize in the van, like they're talking about decorating and things. Somebody's like, "Hey, is that a cliff in the distance?" And suddenly, the whole mood in that van changes to what's going on with this cliff. The cliff, the cliff, the cliff. Everybody's talking about the cliff suddenly, but the van has no driver and it's going far too fast for anyone to do anything about that by the time they've realized it. And I think we're at the stage, like right there. We're just now at that point where everybody in that van is starting to panic about a cliff.
Then you would abandon ship, right?
I mean, well, that depends on what you do. Like, who are you? What do you think? What do you think each person that I listed in that room does in this scenario? Like,
Donald abandoned ship. I think. I mean, Kamala might. No, Joe would abandon ship too, and then Kamala might make the effort to stop the van. Might.
but it'll probably get shoved down by both Donald Trump and Joe Biden trying to flee the van.
Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Who else was in there? Kamala. So
I wish I'd remember listing it. Like they're talking about, we're part of the president of China, Vladimir Putin.
President China tries to stop Kamala. It's like you're because he believes he's unqualified to try to stop the van. Because he believes that's more important than actually stopping the van.
I don't know. I feel like the president of China would probably offer to pay someone to stop the van.
We cannot stop the van. Only our supreme technology can stop the van.
No, I feel like that'd be like Elon Musk in the back. Be like, I've got this robot arm that'll stop the van.
No, I feel Elon Musk would be like, if you'd taken my van, you wouldn't even be in this problem.
Right. He's got a hover drone. He's like, bye-bye, it shoots out the back. Because he's gone to space. He's got an ejector seat. He just rockets off into his space station in the sky. Jeff Bezos has drones come take him to his space station in the sky. all the common people are trying to flee the van out into the world that's blowing up with, storms and volcanoes and nobody noticed and or cared about the volcanoes and things exploding outside of the windows. They still have been focused on the cliff, and then they all died and perished because the end of the world's happening anyway. But the climate.
And the world's sad. The world is sad because that was a good van.
Oh yeah, it was a nice van. It took us a long way, that van. And as a matter of fact, that van's gonna be real fine reconstituted as a pile of scrap metal in the bottom of that ravine.
You can't reconstitute. It's a memorial now.
Oh, it's gonna be real fine though. Like it'll just rust over and then.
There's a testament.
I mean, in time it'll just be Mars. Like.
Live on Mars.
I guess that's not true because
your way.
What's gonna happen theoretically is like the world will go into another ice age, and then things will just reemerge as the planet rewarms, remelts. I mean, because matter is not destroyed, and like the balance of H2O and land and all that would eventually even itself out. It'd have to go through a whole cycle and rebirth situation where it goes through a planet where it comes an ice age, and then it goes like a lava situation, and the planets reform, and then
I feel like we would adapt to that.
Like the human population. Oh yeah, like I read this book series that, have I told you, it's like, I don't know what the name of it now is. It's like the Legion or something, whatever. But the premise is it's a bunch of army grunts that found the ancient AI and flew it into space, and they got into a bunch of wacky adventures. And it came into the point where they met aliens that wanted badly enough to destroy humans that they built a mining facility on Saturn to build a cloud that would block the sun enough to cause an ice age on the planet.
Wow, that seems like a lot of waste effort.
Well, I mean, that's because we had elder weapons. They couldn't get close enough to the planet to actually destroy. Let's save the planet we have. Don't try to fly away. What's his name? Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey. My mother's been watching the Olympics, and it's been on the Olympics this whole situation, and it's very propaganda-y, and I'm like, it's during the Olympics, and I'm like, who is he trying to advertise it to? Was there ticket sales to Mars that I missed?
Wilson, got nothing going on.
Owen Wilson. I didn't mean Owen Wilson.
Raise awareness.
I mean, to raise awareness of what?
Somebody.
That's what I'm like. I don't get like what I've seen that commercial like 3 times, and I don't get what the purpose of it is. It's like, obviously he's saying that, but I don't really think anybody who's watching that could do anything about going to Mars or not in the first place. And I mean, like, I have definitely heard that research like from space has furthered our carbon like the decarbonization of our atmosphere process, because they have scrubbers and stuff now. Like Bill Gates has got this whole idea about releasing things into releasing chemicals into the atmosphere in order to burn off some of the excess carbon or whatever. Right. It's all science. And a lot of that, like, they get crazy science breakthroughs from space. So I mean, I don't know why we have to stop one to do the other.
Yeah.
If you ever played the Paradox game Surviving Mars, you can see the... God, why's my train of thought is being so bad today? The technological advances you get from Mars, like you get, like at the very early part of the game, Earth sends you supplies and stuff, and then you have to like pay them back over time with science, basically. And it makes sense because there'd be lots of people in Mars discovering new ways to make breathable air and stuff because they're on Mars and they don't have any. Kind of like an immersion language program.
Stop the reactor, Quaid.
Kinda. I saw this cool thing on YouTube because the YouTube's got me. It's called Farm Pods, where they were taking shipping containers and turning it into an aquaponics greenhouse within the shipping container. Like it was
No, yeah, they
two-story.
do a lot of stuff with shipping containers now. They're really recycling a lot of those.
I mean, that's because, but those things cost like $3,000 or $4,000. Like they're not cheap. And then the farm pod itself had this greenhouse on top of it with like a aquaponics like automated system where all the fish poop just rotated up through, and it was like everything you needed in one little kit. And I was like, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. I already had like solar panels and stuff built in. I was like, damn, I wouldn't mind that because I'm thinking about doing the greenhouse in the back. And I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I'm very impatient and tired of the waiting process of these plants because I want to keep doing more and more to them. But you have to wait like 9 weeks for each plant. I'm trying to sort of get this rotation in now, where I'm gonna be able to have like 4 in flower, 4 in veg, and 4 in seedlings at all times, and then I can rotate them out within the 16 propagatable spaces I have. Farming life. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew? So Keith, how are you? How's things? I know you sound really busy.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work.
That's I've been talking to a dude who works 2 jobs. It's rough.
Yeah, technically, I guess I work 3 jobs now.
What?
Yeah.
What? Tell me about that.
Because I'm still bartending on the weekends. During the week, now I'm just a fry cook, I guess.
Oh, right, because you did the hotel other one, the night audit.
Yeah, and then I'm doing the night audit.
That's why you said technically. I was like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Technicalities.
2 jobs in the same company.
I've been there, done that so many times, I can't even tell you. And I was just talking about it the other day. I think I would rather work 30 at 2 jobs than 60 at 1. I know it's better money.
Keep things interesting.
Huh?
It does keep things interesting, but you hope there'd be better money in just doing the one job and.
There would be. There would definitely be better money, and because you get overtime and stuff doing the one job. But the other one, I mean, that was like when I worked that security job. They would work me to death. Like they'd be sure gladly to just let me sit there for 24 hours straight, 7 days a week. Just pay me, just make the rain pay, but you would never be able to spend it.
Right.
And then like I get to a point where it's like we work too much as Americans in the first place. Like the average European work week is only 32 hours.
No.
Right, like we as Americans work way too much. But that's because we have to have all these like breaks and stuff built in. You have to be away from your house so long out of your life, and then you pay so much of your life towards that house that you never spend any time in.
Well, we did so much to make sure that we weren't overworking people and people got time to take care of themselves, and now we got no time to take care of ourselves because we're trying to constantly take care of ourselves.
I don't know. I think if it was possible, like if they really want us to work like that, you should be able to do it for like 20 years and then retire. But if you're gonna work 40 hours a week, you should be able and work 40 years and then retire. That makes logical sense. I think this like the world dynamic was written 50 years ago when people didn't live to be 80. And it's like it's kind of acceptable then, because now we have to plan for such retirement. Like, if I'm thinking, the money I have right now in savings, if I were to have retired on it in 1950, I could live another 20 years. And you're like, oh, okay, so you retire at 60, you live to 80, you're good. Nowadays, you might be living to your hundreds, so like you can't retire till you're 80. Like, but I mean, really, it's getting to that point. So I mean, like, can you really work two jobs until you're 80? I mean, damn. What kind of life is that? What kind of life is that at all? I yearn for Americans to be able to stay at home and raise their kids. Yearn.
Even that's hard to afford to do now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's because we've made the cost of living be so ridiculous, and it's like, and it's not so much inflation. It's not so much the cost of living and housing and all that. It's really the corporate propaganda, like the
It's a
brainwashing,
combination. It's
into like the
a good.
apps and the marketing commercials, like the way that corporate America has gotten so invasive into Americans' lives. It's mesmerizing. Even when you know they're doing it, it's hard to not be affected by it. And I'm sorry, what were we gonna say?
I said there's a good combination also because like the work dynamic has changed so much. Like I had explained somebody at this college kid. He's probably about 20, and I was talking. We were talking. I used the term moonlighting as a job. He's like moonlight. He didn't understand. I was like, because you don't have that anymore because jobs are all sorts of. Because it used to be everybody worked during the day and whatnot. At nighttime you were at home or spoke or whatever. But if you're moonlighting, that's when you had a second job. You know,
And it was a
because
rarity.
everybody was able to work off of one job. If you needed a second job, you were moonlighting.
With a wife and a kid at home.
Yeah.
House and a car, one job. To say that now is unfathomable to anybody who's in the
Yeah.
workforce right now. That is unfathomable. Unless you've already got a degree and probably been ensconced in your field for almost 10 years. Could you
And
really?
then it works both ways too. The business is like, oh, we're still trying to, as a business, you're still trying to make money. So you're trying to keep your labor down, so you keep all your employees under hours so they don't get overtime. And not every business is like malevolent that make sure no one ever gets overtime, but it's just like they're trying to save money.
I think a lot of that's changed lately in the employee dynamic. They realize that people are worth more than they've been paying them.
Yeah, depending on what industry it is too, because it's still that idea is like you're expendable. I can replace you with anybody who
I
wants a
mean,
job.
I think if any employer tells you that now, look them dead in the eye and be like, okay, bye. There's a job on every
Right.
corner right this second. So I mean, like, if they're treating you poorly, they deserve to be the ones not having employees. I get it. I have a friend who works for people who don't pay him that well, but they've helped him out of tight binds in his life, and they've been good to him, and have paid his bills for years and years and years, and he wants to stay with them. And I was like, I get that.
He has a sense of loyalty.
I get that 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But the man is struggling.
Right.
Like, I feel for you, bruh, but you can't complain about how much money you make and then be like, I don't want to leave. So it's.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta look them people that you love dead in the eye and say, I cannot afford to stay working here. Just, I love you, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
I told him, I mean, like, sometimes you gotta negotiate it, and if they really love you like that and can see that it's what it is, they're gonna have to raise their
Yeah.
prices because inflation has happened.
Well, sometimes it works the other way too. It's just like I know, like for me, having like the fry cook job, it's like I never really wanted this job, and like when I started working for this company, I was like, I don't want to be a fry cook. And then when we changed management and found out some of the shady things that my original general manager was doing, I was like, damn it, we got no one here to do this fry cook job. I was like, well, but it's been good to me. It's been a steady source of income for right now. So I guess I'll fry cook. And it's like I really don't want to fry cook, but I really need this steady source of income.
You should definitely be looking for somewhere else, though.
Yeah.
Or I bet the hotel would probably pay you more somewhere else if they were get you on full time or something.
Yeah, I've been looking at what else we got going on, but even I thought the night audit was going to be able to do it, but it didn't work out the way I wanted to. And so I'm going to see if I can finagle my way up a little bit on that.
That's respectable. I understand. I feel for the working public right now, and I'm grateful for the situation that I happen to currently be in, but not for why. And it's still just such a depressing world. I'm starting to like look at my future and be very like, what the f am I really gonna do with the rest of my life? Like,
Hmm.
can I really sit here and grow weed for the rest of my life?
Right. And that happens, especially when you get older. It's just like this is it.
I mean, like I am getting older. Like, looking at 40 this year, you're like, yeesh. What's my purpose? Why am I here? Like, I never thought I'd really
And
like. I would have thought like in my 20s, I thought that I knew the answer to that. In my 30s, I thought that I didn't care, and
right.
now I'm like, oh shit, I really should probably worry about that. Like, as I'm rounding my 40s, I'm like, I guess I should know. Because I really have a crazy opportunity to be like, what do I want to do with my life? And I have no idea. So put the comments, suggestions. What should I do with my life? I would love to make streaming a thing, but I just don't think once a week political conversations would do it. But I would love to entertain.
It still takes years to do that though.
Huh?
It takes years to do that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have years, I guess. But I mean, like, is that a purpose? And then, like, I don't really have years to do a political stream. And then I feel like the world's gonna end. Like, we're about to. I mean, I have enough power to maintain, but I don't know if the internet would stay up. Like, I don't have satellite internet or nothing, so I don't know how to continue streaming once the apocalypse is upon us.
I feel like the internet would be the first thing to go because
Well, probably because Russia has a lot of hackers. I mean, like,
well, there's no way to maintain it. You know,
well, it's mostly
I
satellite
mean,
based now, like with net. What's his face from the one that? Oh, did you see that about the company that I'm trying to name of right now? Elon Musk's SpaceX has been launching satellites like 70 a day or something for this internet web thing they're supposed to be building, so everybody in the United States can have access to satellite internet.
see, that'd be nice.
It's like a thing, like it was totally in the works, but they lost 40 satellites yesterday to a solar flare.
How do you not account for that?
Well, because solar flares are like,
I know. But I mean, like, there should be some plan, like, in case of a solar flare.
well, I mean, but like how close? That's like dodging a bullet. That solar flare took out 40 satellites in orbit of the planet. If it was a little bit stronger, we would have felt that on the planet. Like, I bet there were places on the planet that were already disrupted and stuff from it. Because that's a lot of satellites to take out. What else got took out?
I wonder what people
And then
see
you have to
cell phone
wonder
thing.
though. That makes me wonder now that I think about that I haven't heard anything else, like no other disruptions, nothing else. What if that was like a cover story, like they lost 40 satellites to a Chinese missile, and the cover story was a solar flare?
That seems a waste of time for the Chinese.
Say what?
That seems like a waste of time. Let's disrupt their internet.
Russia will definitely do that. Russia probably could have done that through hacking. Like Russia probably, Russia has their whole super hacking network thing, right? Have you
Yeah.
not seen that special? There was like I want to say it's like a CNN news report where they went over there and did their think tank.
Mm.
I suspect that was the same terrorists that shut down a pipeline on the East Coast a couple months ago.
Really?
I do indeed think that. When the government had to stop like to beg corporate companies to stop paying off terrorists because it was cheaper for them to just pay them the money they wanted than for them to lose the business over the oil pipeline.
You vaguely remember hearing something like that.
I was like, that's ridiculous. These ransomers didn't even really know how much money to ask for, and the oil company was just like, yeah, like $1 million. Yeah, sure, write him a check. What? Why are we even talking about this? Just petty cash it. Oh. But yeah, I think there's a lot of cover stories that we're not seeing. I feel like there's a lot of. Were you here when we talked about the Johnson and Johnson?
Actually,
No, I think it's tonight. I think I talked about it. You been here this whole time?
yeah.
We talked about Johnson and Johnson factory shutdown, or was I talking about that to Sharon?
Um, yeah, you talked about them stop making whatever.
The vaccine situation, like they were making a vaccine and then stopped down. Does that not ring like? I mean, I guess like I start to think about like other positives, but my first like paranoid brain thought goes to, oh, there's already a variant out there that's super deadly and horribly contagious, and they're trying not to um, cause a panic while they're developing trials for the vaccine of it. Because I saw in the news this morning as they keep talking about the numbers of Omicron going down, like, yay, look at this numbers of Omicron going down. But they're still talking about hospitalizations are running like 90% ER
Hmm.
capacities and stuff like that. And you're like, hmm. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be a Joe Rogan and tell people the wrong information, so I'm just speculating here. Just speculating. But that just seems like a really, really weird move by J&J to shut down one of their factories that's making a vaccine that's already in under production. I'm open to other theories, but I'm pretty sure that
But they're not the lone people making vaccines though. We're not.
yeah, but theirs is already in demand because that's been promised to some of these other third world countries.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, poorer nations. So I don't know how you feel about that. And I mean, like, have we talked about the Olympics?
No.
Okay, so the Olympics, the the Olympics are definitely a show of power by China, because I don't feel like the Olympics are normally held this time of year either.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like the Olympics and the Super Bowl coincide. Like it's literally the weekend in between the Olympics is the Super Bowl. And I don't think that's ever happened. At least not in living memory for me has that ever happened.
I don't know. I think that happened.
Hey
There has
Google,
to.
has the Super Bowl and the Olympics ever fallen at the same time before?
What did it say?
The last time it happened even close, it took 5 days before the opening ceremony in Salt Lake.
Hmm.
I personally think this is a show of power from both sides of the country. Like, or maybe not even both sides. I think this is China flexing on the United States because they put one of the other most watched events in between America's most watched sporting event.
Really? I think that's a stretch.
Do you? I mean, I think
Yes. I
like
think it's. I think it's just a coincidence because of the timing. Because remember, that it was delayed because of COVID and all that. They did push back and
yes,
reschedule a lot
but
of the
why
Olympic
pick
stuff
this
because of
weekend?
COVID.
But that's like it just seems like poor planning even on like NBC's part.
And
Like
then
they
the
could have
same
moved
thing with the football. Like it's, the schedule for that changes all the time because it's not always in February. Sometimes the Super Bowl's in January.
again. Why could they like they? How long have they known the Olympics were happening, and how long have we known the Super Bowl was happening? Why did they schedule it on the same weekend?
It's not. I don't think either is going to take away from either. Who's doing
But I'm still
Super Bowl?
that's not an
The
answer though. Like
Super Bowl this year.
what's the reason? Why it seems like poor planning on anybody's part because you feel like they'd have better ratings both of them by not competing. They could just put it on a different weekend. Either one of them.
I mean, it's counter programming.
I mean, like, but the whole situation with Chinese Olympics, you know that the United States is boycotting these Olympics, right?
What?
Yeah, the United States is boycotting it diplomatically. We don't have any diplomats or any like supporting people over there. It's the only people we have at the Olympics right now is the athletes.
I
and
didn't
they were.
know other people besides the athletes even went.
Oh, well, there's usually like a whole diplomatic corps that goes with them because they have to like be in case there's like diplomatic incidents and like make sure that the like all the athletes are like interacting and doing the rules and stuff with China. But
Yeah.
China basically only allowed U.S. athletes to come in if they like signed a petition, not a petition, signed a statement saying they were going to be under Chinese law while in
Right.
China. So they were and like the U.S. was like, we can't really help you if you go.
So that makes sense.
So there's definitely been a whole lot like less athletes from the United States went than probably would have went if it had not been in China.
Yeah.
And I think also because COVID, like I'm surprised they even held the Olympics at all, both times. And China's doing it twice and keeping this zero policy. Like, I mean, I've seen videos of them like boarding up whole apartment buildings because of COVID. So I don't know how I feel about all that. I mean, like, I already have seen so many atrocities as far as China goes with like the cage homes and what they're doing to the environment that I can't let them rule more of the world.
Yeah.
And the same things, I mean, like, I don't know, I really don't know too much about like Russian people's everyday life. But if you're looking at the way Ukraine broke off from Russia and is now like desperately fighting for its life to avoid going back, I cannot imagine it being a pleasant place.
Maybe.
So I mean, like, if we had been in a stronger position, like globally, because we hadn't had the orange bump in our history, I think we would have been able to step in to stop the Taiwan situation with diplomatic sanctions, and we definitely could have stopped this Ukraine situation with diplomatic sanctions because we would have been already doing it to China in the first place. So I mean, but if we as the United States put diplomatic sanctions on Russia and China at the same time, I think that might cause like global economic collapse.
Yeah, that's way out of my league.
I definitely think it could be. I mean, like but if we stop trade, like think about what things but we buy that are made in China that you could no longer purchase.
Hmm.
And I mean, like, granted, we probably have tons of stockpiled things where, like, mass good producers have already purchased things that you will be able to purchase. But at some point, like, the supply lines have already been hurt so much now that who knows what stockpiles we have built up in supply lines. I think we're gonna have a very, very interesting next 10 years. A very interesting next 10 years. So let me ask you an opinion question that's related to my personal life.
Okay.
I've been kind of sort of talking to this dude that I met off Tinder for, I don't know, like a couple of weeks. And I've got a new policy of like I don't really put out on the first date anymore. Like I'm 40. I'm not. I'm like at least a third date kind of gal. And I said that, and he's been basically agreeable. But now I don't think we're gonna meet because we had this conversation this morning about like I tried to send him this article that I woke up to this morning. It was like what the f, and he was immediately came back with like don't push that on me, don't push that on me, and I'm all like it's a news article. What am I pushing on you? I didn't. I'm like I don't even get it. But he doesn't want to have the political conversation at all. He believes that we'll probably have differing political beliefs, and it'll just be okay if we don't talk about it.
Well, there you go.
You really think that's okay? You could be in a relationship with somebody who had differing political beliefs than you?
I've seen people with different political beliefs. I mean, granted, it causes some kind of turmoil here and there, but I mean,
you're talking about like long life term relationship. Like I'm looking for like the relationship.
I mean, like if you connected with someone and they turn out to be a Trump supporter, so that ended for you.
Yes. You know why?
Really?
All right, you know why? So
Yeah.
let me explain. I don't believe that you should dump someone for a political belief. But the Trump situation is well beyond that. And it's because if you ask somebody why they're a Trump supporter, what do they always say? Have you never asked anybody? Do you not know?
I don't tend to get in political
Okay,
discussions
well,
with people just out of the nature of my job how they happen.
yeah, that's why I don't work in service anymore. Because I ask people that question. Like, why? Like, tell me what about him is specifically is that you love? And they always say it's his economic policies. It's the Republicans' go-to. It's like, I really love his economic policies.
What?
Right, that's what they always say. And first of all, none of them can ever tell me what specifically his economic policies are that they like so much.
Like how you bankrupt the casino?
Oh my God, or like the Chinese steel deal that started this whole Cold War in the first place. But anyway, anyway, um, now I forgot what we were talking about. Got me offside. Top. They always talk about they don't know.
We're talking about the cons of dating a Trump supporter.
Right. So it's like they always say it's his economic policy. So if you really throw it back in their face and you're like, okay, so you would sacrifice people's human rights to save your money. Is the answer is what you're really saying to me is because Donald Trump obviously devalues women and that's like literally half of our population. So they're devalued by him being a president and you're okay with that as long as your money's cool. And if you can look me in the eye and tell me yes to that question, that's an asshole belief, not a political belief. That's an asshole belief. And I'm allowed to defriend you for being an asshole. Am I not?
Well, yes, it's going to be that.
I mean, if you can condone the man who says grab him by the p what on national television and be like, yep, I did it, then you're an asshole. No matter what. I mean, that guy, like, made fun of retarded people, incited an insurrection, basically. Like, I mean, all the horrible things that the man said about people. Like, what was he? He was, like, racist to somebody. I forget who it was, but he was talking about getting the Ku Klux Klan involved at one point on a Twitter thing that was deleted. It was very early on in the beginning. And, like, the whole thing is just, like, everything he's done has been to incite hate.
Mm.
I yearn for the Obama years back. I really thought, oh God, it's official. Obama, a black man, has reached the highest office in the land. Racism is over. We can just move on. Everybody's equal. Go forward. We're all people, no matter what color you are. We're all Americans. I felt very unified under Obama. I campaigned for him. I shook his hand.
Glad you felt that.
I mean, I felt it because I didn't know how. Like, all right, so there's white guilt everywhere, all over everything.
Yeah.
But I literally can't do any of it. So I'm thinking, I helped a black man get elected. That's the best I could do for his civil rights. I mean, what else? What else can I do? As a person, as an individual, I'm asking in the universe.
Ease yourself.
Ease myself.
Be yourself and treat people decently.
That's respectful. That's respectable. I had this argument with Sharon the other day because she's of an ethnicity as well, and I told people that because here lately you say things like, oh, I don't see color anymore, and they're like, oh God, that's bad too, you can't say that anymore, and I'm just like, I'm not sure I'm going to stop saying that, because to be racist is to make a snap judgment based on what a person looks like, and like I guess weigh heavily on ethnicity. I'm not really sure how to define that differently, because you're basically looking at a person saying that person is this ethnicity and they are some kind of way in your brain, right?
A preconception of what that person should be based on their appearance.
Say that one more time.
A preconception of how that person should be based on their appearance.
Right. It's like the definition of racism.
Yeah, I don't know if that's specifically the definition, but I would say there's a broadness to someone being racist as opposed to being, using the term as like you're racist and because they're hateful. Not every racist is a hateful person.
I mean, I kind of am of the opinion that every person is a little bit racist.
Mm.
I mean, like, you don't look at a black person and think they are a certain kind of way. Keith being a black person himself.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Specifically?
Like, have you, like, do you make snap judgments based on what people are and like present to you as a front?
Not generally. My perspective, especially being the way I am, has always been how do they greet you or how do they react to you? Reaction. An example would be at one of my jobs, there was an older black gentleman that started working, and I said hi to him several times, but he said nothing to me ever. And
nothing to you ever?
Yeah, like he didn't say. I said, "Hey, how's your name?" I tried to be friendly. I was like, "Hey, there's a new person," but he didn't respond to me. And I didn't think, my first thought was that, well, maybe he doesn't like black people, other black people, or, I said maybe he's just, not, friendly. Maybe he just doesn't want to involve himself with other people. We all have moments where it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
But he did. But he did the other day. He did speak to me one day, just randomly, and asked me about something that was going on in the hotel. And I said, "Oh, But I still didn't think anything ill of it, But there are moments where you're just like, I always, people always wonder the difference is like, even within like the black community, there's points where like when someone says, "Well, you act white," I was like, "Well, that's not specifically hateful, but it's really hurtful, and it's really big because it means you have a thought of what a black person should be, or
being racist in and of itself, expecting that."
Yeah, that it's like, oh, you're black. You must have grew up in a poor community because that's how we treat our blacks in America. I was like, no, I had a pretty decent childhood actually.
That's
general good education. He's like, oh, I was like, that's one of the whitest people I know. I was like, well, see, that's also, it works the other way too. It's like, you also have a perception of how white people should be.
Right. Clearly, it's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a little nuts. But I mean, I guess I never thought of it that way before.
Yeah, that's what the argument now is coming to. It's like the hatefulness is kind of way, when people say it's like, I'm not racist, I have so many black friends. It's like, oh, a lot of black people, but you can still be judgmental because, hey, I'm down with that person. I was like,
I don't know. I personally tell people that I'm not racist because I can tell the difference between a trashy person of any color.
Right.
Like, I definitely can recognize when a person is trashy regardless of what color they are, and I'm not sure I treat them differently. So I mean, I don't know. And as far as people go in my book, you are trashy or classy. That's the categories you get put in my world. And you get treated differently based on whether you're trashy or classy. And I personally think that has a great deal with how you dress. I definitely choose make a lot of assumptions about how people dress. Because that's a choice. What you choose to put on your body. I mean, like, we're not talking about kids and shit. Like, these are like full-grown adults. What you choose to put on your body is like what you're choosing to represent to the outside world,
Hmm.
which is maybe why I don't get sex changes. Because everybody's like, I feel like a girl on the inside, and I'm just like, so wear a dress. Like, who? Nobody's checking your crotch. Like, what's the difference?
We practically are now these days. It's like,
I mean, the
check your
first.
crotch.
Let me
Just
tell
wearing a
you.
dress.
Let me tell you the first person. If I was in a room and somebody's like, oh, this person's pretended to be a woman, and I'd be like, I thought you were a dude this whole time. I just thought like. I just can't imagine somebody having the galls to say that to a person this day and age.
To say that, oh, well, you mean that's because now, I thought you were a Jew the whole time. That's something to you.
I don't know. Maybe I did. I'm smoking, so I could have gone off the rails. Keith, weren't you supposed to be driving the bus?
I'll admit, as someone who's a little bit older, I still don't completely follow the whole gender neutral thing. And I don't mind it so much. Like, I don't mind, like, if you're going to be non-binary or you've chosen a sex or whatever, I mean, that's great. More power to you. The only thing that upsets me about it is when it's like some people go out of their way to make sure or to see if you're, to be, it's like picking a fight. It's like, you just said they. I was like, did I? I was like, I don't know this person. I just saw him for a second. I just met him 2 seconds ago, and I'm supposed to know how they present themselves and how they, like to be addressed. So that, And it's like,
I get it.
Can we take a minute to know each other before you come crashing down on me and like, you're not using the right pronouns. I was like, pronouns? It's like, I just want to know what the fuck you want to drink.
Do you remember the person that was in our free company that like snapped on me the first time because apparently we were in voice chat and I referred to them as a he?
No.
There was like Vinaigrette or something was her name or something. I forget. She might still be there. She isn't. I haven't really played our free company in a while, but there was she. I must have inadvertently referred to them as a he via Discord, and then she like messaged me later like, "Hey, don't call me a he. I'm a she," and I was like, "Okay." It was like. I didn't realize that I had done one way or the other, and I have and I had this friend in Hawaii who kind of changed my whole perspective about it because they were born a female and they are now identifying as a male, but their name is Mary Jane, and I have a hard time with using that pronoun in a language sense. Like
I get that way too. Some of it for me is like. I had, especially younger, I had a decent education, so like I had grammar class and stuff. I was taught to use pronouns and
Well, Star Trek Discovery taught me the trick to that is you really have to think of them as two actual people. So my friend Mary Jane is Mary and Jane. I mean, granted they're both female names, but I still refer to them as a they. Like they are two people. Like just they're a couple, they are an entity, they are two people.
That might be easier if they got a two-part name like that.
But it was just hard for me. I never wrapped my head around it until I was watching Star Trek Discovery. Have you actually watched the new season?
No, I haven't watched any Discovery yet.
Well, they have a transgender kind of person on there, but is a Trill. Yeah. You watch Star Trek, so you know what Trills are.
Yeah, I know what those are.
So she's a Trill.
Okay.
But there's a whole thing, and they accidentally get the Trill inside the girlfriend, and so the girlfriend has the gender neutral boyfriend. I'm sorry, the gender neutral person inside of them, and then like when they put transgender, right? When they put transgender into an interspecies, interrelationship situation, it makes a whole lot more sense.
So wait, the Trill was placed into a gender neutral person.
The Trill was a gender neutral species, like all their species.
Well, yeah, generally they are, but their bodies are still presented as a generally male or female.
Well, this one was not.
So they had a Trill that specifically non-binary. You're saying?
Well, the host at this point was non-binary.
Yeah, the host.
The host at the point was non-binary, because usually one of the either identified, but this particular host was identifying as non-binary and was in a non-binary relationship with another person, and then that Trill host or symbiote ended
Yeah.
up in the relationship person, and then they were both like there was this like whole psychic episode where they actually had
The host ended up in another body.
the Trill ended up in another body. Like the host died prematurely, and there was nobody around, so
Okay.
they had to like shove the Trill symbiote into the human, which wasn't supposed to be like it was supposed to kill her anyway, but they did some magic thing to make it work. But it caused them to have a duality, so they were two people basically.
Two people in one body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot with the Trills.
Right, but this was a much more expressive way. Like they eventually in later seasons split them off again. So now they're
So they had an extended stay in this body.
yeah, like seasons.
That's weird. I mean, so that host, the new host, wasn't a Trill.
No, the new
Was
host
it
was a
human?
human, and that wasn't
Wow,
supposed to ever. You have to watch the season. I'm not gonna ruin it for you. You have to watch. You have to watch the show. Discovery was really good. I thought the first.
That normally wouldn't be possible.
You're right. Look at you, the Trekkie, pulling it out. You gotta watch the show. I'm not gonna explain it for you. They did explain it. They did a whole thing. I'm sure Trek lore was upheld. And I personally love Star Trek because it gives hope. I think that's what like humans' future should be. Is Star Trek Federation. That's what I would like to see. Not
I don't know.
Not Star
I
Wars.
still see. I think again. That's one of those things where like this Star Trek gives you hope, but I was like, but you're only seeing the good side, because like the Federation, still does stuff like a government. Like we need this, they're not above going conquering something, so they can have this sector of the galaxy or what do you call it? Claim the rights to this planet so they can mine the ore that they need to,
Eminent domain.
maybe Star Trek. Yeah.
I mean, like the Federation is basically like what our democracy should evolve into. If it like, because if you're thinking about like, I don't know, have you ever played the Civilization series?
No.
Okay, have you ever seen me? I think me and Ian played it once, where it's like you build civilizations. So I mean, like, and then they have a Beyond Earth series where because one of the victory conditions of Civilization is you launch a rocket into space, and that's how you win. So in one of the expansions or next games or however you want to call it, it's you land a rocket on this alien planet and start building a civilization from that, and it's basically like whichever one you carry it over to. So I'm looking at it like if China is the one who ends up representing the world as a government, because eventually we are going to meet another alien species and we are going to have to like represent as a world government, like to an external force.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have to like, so which nation chooses? I feel like the Federation is like what the United States would be if we won the battle to dominate the world in our form.
Like I can't see if that were to have a world government. I feel there's too many factors to where like one nation can't dominate that. Like the rest of the world would rally against the one nation.
Well, that's why you'd have to have a whole like the United Nations system that we have set up with the votes and the populations and all that. It definitely needs some work, but it's a good structure. Like I don't know why the United Nations would not continue to be a NATO. I mean, like we do kind of have like multicultural alliances already in the country. All we have to do is get one alliance leader from each of those alliances to agree to be an alliance, and then you could kind of sort of make a world government. That'd be the future. That'd be the best step, but that'd be the Federation way. That's how I would form the Federation starts. Is you would just get a bunch of, it's everybody has to form together to defend themselves. Is basically what the Federation is. A bunch of lesser species collecting together to fight off the Borg.
The lesser species.
Lesser species is everybody that's not the Borg. Can't deny that the Borg is the most I feel like the Borg is probably the baddest sci-fi threat ever. I'm gonna drop that.
Mm,
I'm gonna drop that mic.
I feel like they could still be taken out with a computer virus.
I mean, did that happen? I mean, like, how did the Borg end? I don't recall the Borg ever ending.
I don't think they have.
Right, I'm gonna say I'm not sure that's ever I'm like, so I'm not sure.
I guess technically in the next generation, a section of them was ended that way. That's probably where I got that from.
Well, was that the one with the head, the floaty head one? That was one of the movies where they interacted with the floaty head Borg.
No. You remember this next generation? There's an episode called I, Borg. It's the one where Geordi makes friends with the Borg. Younger, like a younger kid. So basically they end up rescuing a Borg.
I do remember that, and they sent him back to
take
the
it back
Trojan
then.
horse.
Yeah, they were gonna send it back to them, but they decided not to do it. But what they did is they left his sense of individuality, and that infected
The collective.
that part of the collective, and the main collective cut them off.
Oh, I feel like I remember that because then they came back later and found them like
Yeah,
lost.
they
and
came back
wandering.
later, and there's been several incidences since where sections or communities of work have like refound their individuality and like gone off to live a life or try to be themselves and stuff, and they're still Borg, so they still had like all that stuff going on. But and was it 7 to 9 is a good example of that a little bit, but like the episodes were more extreme.
I mean, like, slavery is the worst kind of villainry. Like, it really gets my blood boiling.
There's the other thing about it. It's like slavery. It's a form of slavery when you have a life before it.
Oh, right. Worse.
The Borg still reproduced. Borgs that were growing up in the collective saw it as a way of life. Like 7 to 9, even though she got her individuality back, she still had some of the ideals of the Borg of like striving to find perfection in things.
Right, because nature versus nurture. You can't deny that nurture has some effect on a person.
Yeah.
We were talking about that today with luge people because the Olympics have been going on. We were watching like doubles luge. You ever watch that? They basically lay on top of one another and go down on a sled at like 100 miles an hour. Like, how close do you have to be an Olympic bobsledder with that person? And apparently one of the ones people had been friends since they were like 10 years old. And I'm like, if you made somebody go to luge practice every week for years with the same person, wouldn't they become your best friend at 10 years old? You're basically molding two people together. They're having the same experiences, basically.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I have an adopted friend who just recently discovered her adopted family after like, I don't know, 30 years or so. And I always thought they were like, because I feel like she and her mom look the same, but apparently there's so many like personality differences between them.
Yeah.
And she's like, my other family laughs like me, they eat the same things, like the same things, they have the same body types. And I was like, that's weird. It's weird. She almost prefers to spend time with her real family, even though,
bad.
I mean, well, like, almost prefers. And at this point in our life, the family she has here is older, and the family she has there is like aunts and uncles and kids, and like they have a big family there. So I'm like, I get that.
I will tell you, I was adopted, but I've never had the urge to like find my like biological family.
Wait, did I know you were adopted?
Probably not.
I didn't know that. That's nuts.
I can't imagine you were.
Did you just revealed that on television?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's not something I'm hiding, but it's just something that doesn't come up very often.
I guess it's fair. Because you still have parents that had a good childhood, so I guess it makes sense. Are your parents African American?
Yes.
That's okay. I was about to say that. Wait. I was gonna say I feel like I've seen a picture.
My mother is very light skinned, so
Uh,
at a quick glance, you might think she's not.
that's cool. How long? Like, what age were you adopted?
Oh, infant.
Oh, okay. So you pretty much like raised by them.
Yeah.
That's nice. I think if I was ever gonna have children, I would adopt. I've said multiple times. I don't know why people are making things that we have excess of.
Oh, it's that, I don't know. That's one of those terrible traits we have. I don't know if it's human or even as an American, but it's like, they always do that with the political parties do that too. They always want to, pro life, and they want to stop abortion, but they want to cut off Head Start.
Because they want to force people into indentured servitude.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, like, we're getting to a point where it's going to be a universal basic income, or we're going to be switching over to whatever government type China is and start having indentured servitude, basically. Because it's getting to a breaking point where Americans are just like, we're not doing it. But if we start embargoing in Russia, I mean, like, who knows if it's not a deep state ploy to get us all back to go back to work? Because who knows?
Mm.
They'll start doing eminent domain and making factories to make all the things that Americans need, like in air quotations, Americans need. When in all actuality, if America started to go back to farming all the land that we had to farm, we could feed the whole world twice over easily.
There's no money.
That we pay people to not farm. Like the government gives subsidies to keep the prices stable. To not farm. How ridiculous is that? There are people starving in the streets, but we pay people to not farm.
Right.
Can't we pay them to farm and then give it to homeless shelters? Like, if the demand, like, because they're talking about they have to keep supply and demand the same, so they reduce the supply because the demand wasn't going. Because, like, obviously, the innovation level of farming has made it so they can have. I'm gonna fall out of this chair one day. Oh my god, have made it so people are gonna. I totally derailed my train of thought. Like, this chair is not usually the one I sit in, but I've been rearranging the office, as you can tell behind me. It's a hot mess. But
No.
did you see I'm bald today too?
Yeah, I know you weren't wearing your hat.
Shaved it all off again. We're back to bald is beautiful, baby.
Yes.
The hair was getting on my nerves, and it was getting hot, and it was getting itchy behind the headphones. And it's getting tired of wearing a hat because my hair does not grow at all in the middle. So I got the full-on Captain Picard. At least I'll say young Captain Picard, like Tasha Yar era Captain Picard.
Oh, gosh.
That's Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc. I mean, like, would you fuck Patrick Stewart?
I don't think Patrick Stewart really is my type. I don't think he's a bad looking guy, but he's really not.
How about Ian McKellen?
I don't
There's
think
the
he's
real
my type
question.
either. I was like, but he's so saucy. I would be curious. Like, I bet it would be a fun time.
Right. It depends on how he is in person, because you gotta wonder how much of that's like a persona.
Right.
Because at his age, he's probably like, okay, we're done. Let's chamomile tea in bed. It's 8:30. Yeah, there was a show on British TV with both of them in it, and if you haven't seen it, you should. But I can't remember the name of it. But it's hysterical. It was a comedy. It was like them two living together, and Sharon had the idea of having Asian Golden Girls, and I was like, oh, I should do a gay guy Golden Girl. That'd be way better.
I'm surprised no one's done something like that yet.
I mean, I could do it, Keith. Come live with me, and we'll dedicate our lives to a 24-hour streaming of the gay Golden Girls.
Oh, right. We could probably pull it off. Yeah.
Have to get Brandon to come down. Brandon's
He's not old enough.
I mean, not yet. Time cometh.
I guess he could be the Rose. Was Rose supposed to be the youngest?
I could totally see Brandon as the Rose. That's so funny. He just walks in and says random statements and then leaves the kitchen. Like, what the fuck?
No. Instead of saying Olaf to be back in West Virginia.
That would be. I could totally see it. Who are you gonna be, Keith?
Everyone wants to be Dorothy.
I don't want to be Dorothy. I feel like I am
I mean-
Dorothy, but I don't want to be Dorothy.
I feel like I'd be the oldest, so I'm probably Sophia.
You'd be Sophia. I could see it. You always have those snarky one-liners.
And I try not to. Like, some of that is completely, like, the 80s, 90s, like, television upbringing. Totally.
I mean, it's just
Brought all that.
I think it's hysterical. Don't ever stop. I'm envisioning like an older version of you in like a gamer chair, like coasting through the living room with saying one like witty line, and then you come back in your chair from the kitchen in your with your snacks back to your room, saying another witty line as you do it back to the other way. It's kind of how I envision you in that show. Just at the opportune times, you just happen to slide through in your chair, on the way to whatever. It's like one of the fancy gamer chairs, like the high backs and the wings and stuff.
Oh, the ones that always break on me now.
You have never paid for one of the good ones then. I had one in Hawaii that cost me like $500,
Oh, yeah.
and it had
That
like
was
a recliner thing could pop out. Like, it was a nice chair. I slept in it in that room in Hawaii for a while because I didn't have a bed, so I spent money on it. I was like, I need a computer chair and a bed, so I bought a really nice computer chair that I could sleep in. Because I was paying $1,800 a month for a space that was 12 by 12.
Oh.
That I shared with 5 other people. No, just I did have 5 roommates, but the 12 by 12 was my own bedroom, and then we shared 1 bathroom and 1 kitchen with
That's how it goes
five other
sometimes.
people.
I remember those days.
Mm.
I shared an apartment with some friends in Phoenix. We all got I think at one point there was about 13 of us living in and out of that apartment. I know my mom and her boyfriend came and stayed for like 2 weeks.
That's a lot.
But yeah, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and we all we worked together in most of the places. It was interesting how, like, a couple of guys were like, they did that job, and a couple of us did this job, and we all meet up at some other place. And it wasn't all restaurants, some was security, someone was there,
Keith gets around.
yeah.
It's been in every industry you can think of. Knows everybody.
I've met people, I've networked.
And I'm sure probably the most popular guy at that hotel too.
No, not me.
Give it time. Give it time. Give it
I'm
time.
just recognizable because of my size.
What?
So I'm just recognizable because of my size.
Oh, that's
Big guy.
And you always have a big
guy.
smile. You do always have a chipper face.
All the caffeine.
Hey, whatever works. I drink tons of caffeine and I have resting bitch face for reals.
Yeah, I've resorted to I started drinking soda again. It's like I really need more sugar and caffeine in my life because I feel.
I highly recommend the Monsters. 0 calories, 0 sugars, 0 carbs, but shit tons of energy. It's the ones with the texture. It's the one with the textured cans. They taste delicious too.
I like the juice.
See, but that has shit tons of sugar in it.
Yeah.
The one like the monster cans that are textured and like the red, white, and blue ones are the most consistent. But I like the rosea ones. They have like a pear flavored one. They have like this like green apple flavored one. Like there's a whole bunch of them. As long as they have these like the textured cans with the energy zero ultras.
Mm.
0 calories, they definitely cure my soda craving too because they're carbonated and they are
No.
kind of taste sweet, but they aren't. So I highly recommend. Sponsor me, Monster. Like I would do it for free, Monsters. I'm sure they're eating my stomach lining though.
Right?
I'm quite sure that's how I'm gonna die.
Well, that's number five.
Probably like some kind of ulcer or like I heard a horror story about this guy's stomach lining, like his stomach lining bleeded through into his liver, so he was peeing shit. Or no, his bladder and like intestinal tract got a hole like between the two of them, so he was like peeing little chunks of shit.
Ooh.
That sounds gross. I can't. It was a thing. I worry about that, but I continue to drink monsters like I'm going on a style. Hashtag self-destructive behavior. So that was a pleasant conversation we were having. Anyway, Monster, you should sponsor me.
The real objective. On start.
So, what are we doing in November, Keith?
We're changing the boat.
And what's the process?
Riding, change the boat.
There you go. See, that's not that hard. Keith can remember it. You guys can do it. It's not that hard. Change the vote. Go to November. Change the vote. Write in. Change the vote. It has to be just change the vote. Nothing else. Change the vote. Change the vote. It won't count otherwise. So I think this has been a great stopping point. It's been a good time. Thanks, Keith, for being here. It's been wonderful. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. I'm really bad at telling you guys that. Luckily, I have this cool little pop-up animation now to tell you that. So if you haven't done it, do it. And we'll see you here again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every week we'll talk about this. We're going to use this like political rallies. We're going to make some changes happen here. One day this will be a thing. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Good night.